If you are a manufacturer looking to create direct-to-consumer DTC brand, then this video is for you. I'm going to talk through what you need to do in order to set yourself up for success in your new DTC venture. Welcome, my name is Irina Balurko. I'm a partner at Red Rocks E-commerce, where we help brands and manufacturers grow on Amazon Marketplace. In our experience as an Amazon agency, we worked with brands, but also with some manufacturers that have gone to Amazon in order to diversify from the main business by creating direct-to-consumer or selling their products pretty much on a separate DTC brand. Through those experiences, I've learned that there is a certain number of things that a manufacturer that brings to the table that are really strengths, but also there are a number of things that are, I want to say, gaps, but really you want to make sure that you address that when you go on that adventure in order to be successful in selling on your DTC brand. So here I'm just shifting through my notes to make sure that I don't miss anything. It's very important. Well, first of all, that's kind of what I want to talk through. Well, first of all, a disclosure, Amazon is our specialty. So here I'm speaking from Amazon is the main channel for your direct-to-consumer brand. However, it can apply to off Amazon as well, Shopify or any other online channel. So hereby I'm talking about mostly digital e-commerce, direct-to-consumer digital e-commerce as the main business model. So if you're a manufacturer, whether you're making food or supplements or clothing, there's the things that you bring to the table that you obviously can leverage in your DTC experience. Well, first of all is your production capabilities and your product offers, right? So you are able to pretty much create anything, any variation of anything, and probably super fast. Let's just set aside supply chain issues and so on for now that are happening now. But in general, your ability to scale and anything get from the product side, because you're so close to even the whole overall supply chain, right? So even ingredients and so on, that really is part of foundation of being successful direct to consumer. Because if you don't have products that you are able to sell consistently and get in front of customers consistently, you can't really do anything else, right? So you also bring product knowledge. So if there is an opportunity in the market, if you or somebody like ourselves can help you identify, you can create that fairly fast. That is super uber strength. Okay. The second point, I want to expand on that, is that you can reverse engineer customer demands, right? So often when we know there's manufacturing capabilities, if we see an opportunity on the market, let's use again, like if I use flavor, right, as an example, or style. We can say, hey, can you do this? And usually that answer is yes, and we can test and run with that pretty fast. So that is your strengths, any type of new product capabilities or variation of product capabilities in really understanding of supply chain, right? The another thing is that also, because we know that, you have manufacturers, you have your main business, often that you are not under pressure in terms of going and seek investors. You're able to invest in your DTC with more, at least in my experience, with more patience and also a less pressure, because you already have a core business to support your cash flow. So that also gives a perspective where you can make decisions without, again, any type of pressure or any type of knee-jerk reactions, right? Where you say, oh my gosh, I have a cash flow issue. So that also I observed manufacturers is, it's a ace, right? It's ace in your hand. All right, so now let's go through things that I've seen manufacturers lack because you don't have experience in selling direct to consumer. So the first one is that you need to, obviously address. The first is really create a DTC mindset. When you come in to this, initiative or, project, you know that you have to do things differently, but you don't know how, and you still can't help but bring your existing thinking, right? And it's not bad, right? Because you already have business experience, so that business savviness always applies anywhere. But when I say create DTC mindset, how will you make decisions and how you define success and how you measure success is really have to be from almost a different brain. So let's kind of look at some examples. So create, having a DTC mindset. So when you direct to consumer, you have to worry about things that are super close to consumer. So first of all, you need to have packaging that is, well, you always need to have attractive packaging, but in here it's your responsibility, right? So you have to think through for packaging to be aligned with branding, right? Branding is here, I use it as a general term that includes target customer, who is your product for, so you know their type, it's 20-year-old singles or marathon runners and so on. So there is some type of definition of target customer. Don't stress too much over details in that, because it will kind of calibrate as you go, but you need to have some understanding who you want to speak to. Right now I'm speaking to you as a manufacturer. I've had many conversations, right, with businesses like you, and I've worked with some, so I want to speak with you in mind. And there's the same where you sell your product, who you want to really specifically talk to and attract and sell to. Then you have your core messaging. There has to be some type of, general, tagline, even general kind of a language. What's the kind of the soul of your brand, right? So those are a little bit softer things, but they become really key in direct to consumer, because we know right now, especially with the younger generation, there is a lot more there's social activation. There is a lot, caring beyond functions and benefits. So you have to kind of think through that whole package, what you present in front of consumer. So the second category of what you need to do to be successful in your direct-to-consumer brand is really build your team as early as possible. So all these things that I talked earlier, you may say, well, I don't have experience that. I honestly didn't care about that, right? Like why would you? And I don't have anybody internally to take care of that, to really, figure out the brand and to figure out, the things that consumer, that, John in Missouri that's going to buy my product is going to care about. So this is why building your team is extremely important, because again, you have a set of capabilities that now are kind of drastically have to be not changed, but you have to bring different set of capabilities. So for the one how worth mentioning is really figuring out your fulfillment, right? So also if you are shipping pallets, if you have your own shipping capabilities, often you're not really set to ship again individual order to John in Missouri, using that example again. So usually whether it's you kind of have to now figure out how to ship individual orders, or go in the beginning, that's easier, go and find 3PL, or if you are using Amazon as the main channel, which of course where buy stores as your main starting channel, then you use Amazon fulfillment. So that's definitely a good option, the really better option if you're speaking Amazon specifically. So then you have, whether it's your creative team, your design team, right? So, helping you figure out the actual branding piece, the messaging, the target customer. So that is, that's another set of capabilities. And then you have your kind of a platform, so to say, expertise or business strategy and going to market expertise, right? So in our case, because we specialize in Amazon, so we would be a go to market on Amazon, right, and grow then on Amazon as your main distribution channel, as a main platform type of team that would fulfill that bucket, right? So if you're planning to go in retail or multiple channels, which I don't actually recommend going super heavy in multiple channels at the same time, but then you would go find, retail, either a business strategy or broker and so on. So those really building your team would be, being super, you have to be as intentional about that as the first item, because if you don't have that number, that what I just talked about, building your team, building your A team, then what you do, all the work, that all the things that you need to get done in the first one won't really happen. And of course it goes into conjunction. So perhaps first you build your A team, right? And that helps you go figure out the point number one, right? So that's one way to approach if you really want to leverage your time and your commitment, if you really just want to be a sponsor of this project, of this new business, rather than hands-on participator, right, in decision maker. So that's building your A team. The last but not least is really changing your definition of success. I would say 80% of how we think was successful or not, because of what we decide, is that criteria for success, right? Because it's really about the expectations that are set for yourselves and for others, and also what you determine is success. Because enough is never enough, right? There's always moving target post, right? So I think it's important to maintain momentum and to really make decisions from the right place, to really know, okay, what is the right definition of success at where I'm at in 5 years and at 10 years, right? So if we're starting from a high picture, from the top down, so down the road, really why you want to do it, why it's important is in 10 years, the answers that I've heard from manufacturers have been, well, we want to diversify margins. We see the margins our customers are making. We see how much stuff we ship to them. We want to get that piece of the pie, right? And there is some, other one is, I've heard kind of a more of, well, because I want to do it, kind of, I think there's some kind of a personal elements, just, I know that I'm capable of doing it. And maybe there are some personal, maybe it's kind of for the business owner, personal reasons where it's for them, not necessarily for the business. But regardless what it is, kind of a think about, because DTC is a long-term game, because the volumes are not really at least in the beginning, the scale of, let's say contract manufacturers. So that's why you have to think the long-term game. What is that big why? So your definition against success as you go along doesn't get messed up, right? So that's why you always have that true north. Then kind of at the shorter term would be, okay, yes, there is certain volume you want to get to, but I want to speak specifically about volume, because I know with manufacturing there are things like, well, you're so used to just larger numbers that caring about individual orders at $20.99 to John in Missouri, right? It just, you have to think differently, right? You have to have some level of patience with that, because building on those little orders is what is going to eventually lead you to volume. With a midterm targets, I think it's really I don't think it's really smart for the get-go to set specific sales targets where, well, I want to be 1 million a year or 5 million in 5 years. You can, but also you kind of have to be careful, because when you start something new, you don't really have market validated, right? So I think it's just having some tangible definition of, well, we want to be selling consistently, or however, on Amazon I often hear, well, we want to come up and on top page, we want to have great reviews, we want to look good, we want to have consistent profit, or some type of definition. I think just having business sustainable midterm is very healthy, right? And then bringing it closer, but I think the most important, your first definition of success from the get-go is really validation of market, where I would say first 6 to 12 months there should be no other goal than validating your market. What I mean by that. So let's say you are, again, because Amazon is where I live, let's use Amazon as an example, where we know that customers want product, they buy it organically, they buy it through advertising. They leave us reviews that show that yes, they like that product, our products, and where the products that we put out on Amazon are the right ones. Because sometimes we have to, down the road, we have to tweak, right? You have to tweak things, and you might have to create, packs or bundles or different, again, put out like different styles or flavors and so on. But that's down the road. But in the beginning, you have to have a sense of what you think are the core products that you're starting with. So that is really this first 6 to 12 months is your main goal, and that is your definition of success. We cannot be talking about profitability in the first year. We need to have really good understanding of P&L. You need to have good understanding of P&L, right? Of, let's say, Amazon P&L or your DTC business, and really collect key data. But optimization for profitability doesn't really happen in that first year. At least with Amazon, it shouldn't. I mean, if you want to be successful long term. So not saying that you can't be profitable, okay? But what I'm saying is that profitability should not be the main goal, okay? Validating the market in the first year and understanding your profitability and the cost structure, and let's say, again, using Amazon example, and validating all these things that you did in point one, your branding, your customer, your messaging, your core products, that is really the main goal. Okay, those are the main really three categories of what a manufacturer should do. It should think through and determine before going direct to consumer. So we worked with a number of manufacturers, so with helping them transition or diversify to Amazon with our DTC brand. So if you want to build out your A team from the get-go, which would be smart, feel free to message, to comment, to contact. You can find us at redrocksecommerce.com. I'm also fairly active on LinkedIn. Hopefully that was helpful, and we'll talk soon.